My wedding with my boyfriend is approaching. I was searching online for wedding planning tips, but I accidentally came across a post. The photo showed a couple's backs as they exchanged vows in a church. The blogger captioned the photo, "The person I love has already pretended to marry me, so no matter whom he marries in the future, I'll bless him." The moment I recognized the familiar back of the groom, my 9-year relationship crumbled right there in the algorithm. 1. I was browsing wedding tips on Zaya Hongshu when I saw this post. The chat record with Zhou Baiyu on my phone still stopped 5 minutes ago. I enthusiastically forwarded him some sample photos from a wedding photography studio. He replied, "Pick whatever you like, I'll follow my wife's choice." The smile on my lips hadn't faded yet. The next second, a familiar silhouette in the photo suddenly caught my eye. The man was dressed in a sharp suit, his back broad and upright, so familiar that I didn't need to strain to recognize him. It was Zhou Baiyu's silhouette. I shifted my gaze to the woman's graceful figure beside him. She stood next to him in a stunning mermaid-style wedding gown. She had a graceful figure, elegant and flowing. She linked her arm through his. They stood before the priest like a perfect couple, solemnly exchanging vows. No guests were present, yet the atmosphere remained sacred and solemn. The comment section was flooded with praise for how well they matched. Even a top-rated comment urged, "Yuri, my perfect match. Why are you letting him marry someone else? Girl, just snatch him away." The blogger's profile picture was a cat. I clicked into her profile. Aside from this post, her profile was completely empty. I went online under the username Momo. I somehow left a comment in the comment section, waiting for the story between the blogger and the groom. 2. Zhou Baiyu called to invite me out for dinner. I pretended nothing had happened and got into his car. He held the steering wheel with one hand. The other reached over to take my hand. He touched my cold hand. He frowned, his voice laced with concern. "Why is your hand so cold? Are you having cramps from your period?" I quietly pulled my hand away from his. I replied in a flat tone, "No." He turned up the air conditioning, then redirected the passenger side airflow toward himself. After a while, his hand returned to cover the back of mine. This time, he smiled faintly, satisfied. Not so cold now." My nails dug deep into my palm. "We've been together for 9 years. He cherished me like a precious gem in the palm of his hand for 9 years. If I just slightly furrowed my brow, he'd instantly sense my mood. He even remembered my menstrual cycle better than I did. His friends all say Zhou Baiyu is completely under my thumb for life. Zhou Baiyu, whose heart and eyes were always filled with me. Yet, before our wedding, he walked into a church with another woman, vowing sacred promises that were meant to be between us. Who is that woman, and who is the woman he truly wanted to marry? 3. Sitting in a private room at a Japanese restaurant. That photo of him getting married to someone else keeps replaying in my mind. While waiting for the food, I casually asked him, "Should we get married at that church on Shicheng Road in City C? That church is beautiful. Lots of people online choose to get married there." That church is indeed beautiful, with a century of history and grand scale. Countless stained glass windows stretch from the walls all the way up to the massive dome. Standing there feels like being immersed in a dazzling dream. So the photo, paired with her caption, quickly gained significant attention overnight. His hand paused mid-motion as he poured me more tea. "Sea City is too far, right? If you want a church wedding, we can find one locally." Since we started planning the wedding, this was the first time he'd rejected one of my suggestions. My hands twisted the hem of my dress beneath the table. We hadn't even finished the meal. I noticed the messages on the app had piled up to 99 plus. 500 people liked my comment. It was instantly pushed to the top of the hot comments. The blogger finally responded, "All right, I'll share my story with him tonight." I exited the app and looked up at him. He stared at his phone, a pleased smile curving his lips. My heart suddenly clenched. Instinctively, I lunged forward and snatched the phone from his hand. The screen played the video he had shown during his proposal a year ago. A flicker of surprise crossed his eyes, but it quickly turned into a smile. "What's wrong? We're about to get married." Still doing surprise inspections. His phone password is my birthday. His phone also has my fingerprint saved. When he takes a shower, he just leaves his phone lying around. He's always so open and honest that I have no room for doubt. He's so calm because he's certain I won't find anything suspicious on this phone. I forced a smile. "I'd love to watch that video again too," he gently reminded me. "Silly, didn't you save it yourself? You even said last time that when we're old, we'd show it to our kids." The vow to grow old together still echoes in my ears, yet this relationship has already cracked open. 5. I still watched that video again. He edited that video himself for the proposal. The video played, frame by frame, telling the story of our 9-year love, taking graduation photos after the college entrance exams. He swapped places with a classmate and stood right behind me. I will never Forget that day. The boy suddenly leaned down and asked if I would be his girlfriend. For someone usually so confident and steady, his voice held a rare nervousness. He said, "Don't look back, I'm afraid you'll say no." A summer breeze brushed against our youthful faces. The photographer called out, "3, 2, 1, cheese." The moment I pressed the shutter, I turned my back and said, "Okay." We both attended university in City A, but the campuses were 2 hours apart by car. He never hesitated to travel back and forth between the two schools, no matter how tiring, for hours round trip, just to catch a glimpse of me. After I finished my master's, he proposed to me without delay, surrounded by family and friends. He kissed me and said he had waited 8 years for this day. I tried to stay cold-hearted while watching, but tears still welled up in my eyes. Perhaps 9 years is long enough. Once, we both loved with pure, unwavering devotion, hand in hand all along. I always thought he was as focused on our relationship as I was. Only when we reached the threshold of marriage did I realize he had been distracted along the way. Just thinking about it sends a dull ache through my heart. Amidst so many dense, tangled memories, at what exact moment did his heart make room, secretly letting in someone else? Seeing my tears, he wrapped his hand around mine. "Little crybaby, why do you always cry during this? Next time, I won't let you watch." But my hand trembled slightly. I realized I was afraid of the truth that's about to be revealed tonight. Afraid that 9 years of everything could collapse tonight. 6. He went home and got straight to work in his study. Sitting in the living room, I nervously opened the app. True to her word, she posted a new update. A 17-year-old crush finally came true at 29. I read her long account word for word, silently mouthing each one. The pieces of the puzzle slowly fell into place. It turned out to be Yi Shiwan, that girl from the class next door in high school who had a crush on Zhou Baiyu. During her freshman year, while studying at a university in City C, Yi Shiwan had once traveled to another city just to see Zhou Baiyu. A confession left Zhou Baiyu stunned. He politely turned down Yi Shiwan, saying he already had a girlfriend. He had told me about this back then, but I never knew the story didn't end that year, and her secret crush actually came true later. 7. A turning point came last year when Zhou Baiyu went abroad for a year of advanced training. The location was a renowned tertiary hospital in City C. Coincidentally, Yi Shiwan was also working at that hospital. They ended up as colleagues in the same department. Zhou Baiyu never mentioned it to me. One day, after being insulted by a patient, she hid in the office and cried quietly. Zhou Baiyu saw her, pulled a chair over, sat beside her, and told jokes to make her laugh. Yi Shiwan, tears blurring her vision, kissed him fiercely in her post. She wrote, "That day, he closed his eyes and opened his mouth. My secret crush bloomed in the dust." A wave of nausea surged in my stomach. I clenched my palm, forcing myself to keep reading. He and she made their intentions clear up front. He has a girlfriend, their relationship is stable, and they're getting married as soon as he returns. She didn't expect much, just 1 year with him, and she'd be completely content, she said. I made a 1-year love pact with him. When it ends, I won't cling or beg. 8. And so, they started dating. She described that cohabitation like this: I never imagined I'd one day live with the person I'd secretly loved for years. We cooked together, watched movies, hugged, kissed, and did everything intimate. He seemed gentle and reserved, but when he lost control, he'd entangle with me, leaving marks all over the room. Finally, he wasn't just a distant dream anymore. He was lying beside me, right within reach. Every time he called her, I'd quietly walk away, not wanting to disturb him. Hearing him whisper sweet nothings to her always broke my heart, but when we were intimate, he'd whisper the same sweet words into my ear again, and I'd care about nothing else. Until the end of his 1-year training period, he broke up with her. She had only one request. She wanted to have a fake wedding with him in a church to give this relationship a perfect closure. From then on, she would treasure that year deeply in her heart. She would never bother him again. He agreed to her request. She said that after the wedding, they spent the whole night together, passionately entwined. Her words, one by one, crushed my heart like a 1,000-pound weight. That night, we had only the present, no future, so we clung to each other until dawn. For the first time, he ignored her call, just to have me one more time. That night was my true wedding night. 9. I sat on the sofa, my whole body trembling. I couldn't stop myself from reliving that year over and over. He sent me every message, made every call, from the love nest he shared with her, with the same lips that kissed another day and night. He whispered, "I miss you," I love you over the phone. On every day I thought our love was secure, he was already whispering sweet nothings to another woman. No wonder he never let me go to him all that year. He kept saying he was worried about me tiring myself out with the constant travel between two places, yet, time and again, he would suddenly appear before me, full of surprises. It turns out his thoughtfulness was just a cover, and she, with no regard for shame or social norms, lost herself in that secret, shameful affair. They are utterly disgusting. I picked up that pair of matching couples mugs from the table, lifted them high, then smashed them down with all my might. Glass shattered, leaving a scene of utter devastation on the floor. It was a perfect mirror of my 9 years, bloodied, scarred, and littered with casualties. The sound startled Joe Bayou. The door opened, and he hurried over, his steps frantic, with a face full of anxiety and concern. He took my hand and examined it carefully. How could you be so careless? Are you hurt anywhere? I pulled my hand back and slapped him hard across the face. Joe Bayou, we're breaking up. I don't want a second-hand, low-class man like you. 10. He was knocked off balance by the sudden slap. It took him a while to recover. He slowly turned his face and gently took hold of my wrist. His voice grew hoarse. Cece, did I hurt your hand? I don't understand what you're talking about. If there's some misunderstanding, I can explain it to you slowly. I let out a scornful laugh. Misunderstanding? It seems that unless I shove the evidence right in his face, he's determined to keep me in the dark forever. I suddenly felt a bit grateful for that post. It let me see his true colors before the wedding. I forced down the surge of anger, making myself calm down. I held my phone up in front of him. He saw the post and the wedding photo she had attached. After just a quick glance, a flicker of panic flashed in his eyes. Joe Bayou, is this what you call a misunderstanding? He quickly suppressed that hint of panic. Cece, don't jump to conclusions. I did go to City C for training, and it's true, a girl confessed to me in my freshman year, but the person mentioned in this post is definitely not me. That silhouette does resemble me somewhat. But there are plenty of people in this world who look alike from behind. You can't convict me just based on these coincidences. This isn't fair to me. I tugged at the corner of my mouth, a wave of deep exhaustion washing over me. You can't wake up someone who's pretending to sleep. This isn't a divorce. I don't need to present more solid evidence to fight you over property or children. I'm ending this relationship unilaterally. That's all. Just make sure you understand. I don't want to argue with him anymore. I turned around and went straight inside to pack my bags. 11. This apartment was meant to be our marital home, prepared by his family. The location was prime, with great greenery and all the necessary amenities in the vicinity. Of course, the price tag was nothing short of staggering. When we first went to view it, he insisted I come along. The sales agent stuck to my side like glue, eagerly showing me the layout of the apartment, treating Joe Bayou as if he were invisible the entire time. I smiled, waved my hand, and said to the agent, just introduce it to him. I can't afford it. The salesperson smiled and said, your husband told me earlier that whether he likes it or not doesn't matter. As long as his fiancée likes it, he'll sign the contract on the spot. That day, I blushed, feeling happiness was just within reach. The day we moved in, everything was joyful and full of hope for happiness. Now I'm packing my bags, moving quickly, eager to leave without a moment's delay. He stands at the doorway, silently watching me. The clothes are mostly packed. I open the drawer to retrieve my passport. The moment I caught a glimpse of that old phone, my hand froze in midair. 12. That phone was the one he used back in college. We were deeply in love back then. The phone held all our sweet memories. The Notes app was filled with my preferences and little quirks. The photo album was packed with pictures of me. Countless texts were filled with tender love messages. Later, even as the phone slowed down with age, he got a new phone but still couldn't bring himself to recycle this one. He kept it as a memento. He'd occasionally take it out to flip through the old memories inside. I never thought this phone would one day become so glaringly awkward. He noticed my frozen expression. He walked over, leaned in, and saw the phone too. He suddenly moved closer, wrapping his arms around me from behind. We've been together for 9 years. Can you really let go? Are you really breaking up over a misunderstanding? We were finally about to get married. You want to get married in that church in City C, right? Shall we arrange it right away? The word church felt like a bucket of cold water poured over my head. Suddenly, it brought me back to reality. I pushed him away with disgust. I quickly grabbed my passport and stuffed it into my bag. Then I pulled out my phone from the drawer and slammed it hard onto the floor. The phone shattered into pieces all over the ground. The screen was covered in countless cracks, impossible to repair. His eyes filled with deep, aching pain. I picked up my suitcase and walked past him, who stood there stunned. You're tainted, and so is this phone. Things that are tainted should be thrown away. 13. I arrived home. I was turning over in my mind how to explain the whole situation to my mom. I come from a single-parent family. My dad passed away when I was very young. My mom has always worried that I might be mistreated when I get married in the future. She's always been afraid that people would take advantage of me because I don't have a father to back me up. It was the first time I brought Joe Bayou home to meet her. He's always serving me food and pouring me water, carefully picking out every single piece of green onion from my dishes. That day, my mom's eyes welled up with tears. She patted my hand, praising me for having good judgment in choosing a partner, finding such a wonderful guy. And now, how do I even begin to tell her I made the wrong choice? I was still mentally rehearsing my words when my mom beat me to it. You hadn't even come home yet. And Bayou already called me to tell me about this. With the internet so advanced these days, anything's possible. Similar silhouettes, similar life experiences, nothing unusual about that. Breaking up over this, it's a bit hard to justify. In my opinion, that boy Bayou couldn't possibly have done something like that. I sneered to myself. No wonder he didn't try hard to stop me. He must have figured I didn't have stronger evidence, so he's trying to use my mom to persuade me. Slowly breaking down my resolve to break up, my mom added, "His mom called me too," she said. They're inviting us to dinner at their place tomorrow. I was about to say something. Suddenly, a notification from Zai Hongsha popped up on my phone screen. I looked down and tapped it to check. When I looked up again, I said, "Sure, let's have dinner together tomorrow. Since Joe Bayou so desperately wants clear-cut evidence to embarrass everyone, well then, I just happened to have it." 14. His mom prepared a table full of dishes, many of which were my favorites. Joe Bayou sat beside me, beaming with joy. He thought that as long as I was still willing to sit at his home for this meal, there was still room for reconciliation between us. At the dinner table, he kept serving me food. His mom kept reassuring me not to believe what's online. She vouched for her son's character with absolute certainty. He would never be capable of such a despicable act. She said to us with a beaming smile, "Once you two are married, you should have a child soon. You're both so good-looking. Your child is bound to be absolutely adorable." Joe Bayou was worried his mother was being too pushy and might upset me. He quickly interjected, "Mom, it's too early to be talking about this. Cece and I haven't had enough time for just the two of us yet." I suddenly put down my chopsticks and responded earnestly, "Auntie, I'm pregnant." That one sentence electrified the dinner table. Everyone was both shocked and overjoyed. My mom swiftly snatched the cola from in front of me. "You silly girl, why didn't you tell us sooner?" His mother's eyes lit up with happiness. "Cece, is it true? You're really pregnant?" Joe Bayou leaned in close, his voice brimming with unrestrained joy. "Cece, am I really going to be a dad? Why didn't you tell me earlier?" I calmly scanned the room. Finally, I spoke without a hint of emotion. "There is a child, but not in my womb." 15. The words hung in the air, leaving the table in stunned silence. Everyone sat frozen, speechless, until I pulled up a photo from my phone. After zooming in, I placed the phone in the center of the table. I smiled and offered my congratulations. "Auntie, you're about to become a grandmother. The baby is right in this woman's belly." The post sparked intense backlash online. After learning the blogger was a mistress, the comments section shifted from praise to harsh criticism. A wedding photographer who follows the ceremony suddenly appeared in the comments. "Damn, I'm getting dragged into this drama. These photos were actually taken by me." I followed the trail and clicked into the photographer's profile. I found the set of photos among his client samples. One of them was shot from a frontal angle. The photo clearly captured the bride and groom's faces. The wave of harsh criticism forced Yi Shiwan to drop a bombshell. "They haven't even gotten married, and I'm already pregnant. What kind of third party am I?" The two red lines on the pregnancy test were strikingly vivid. His mother's face turned pale, and she was speechless for a moment. My mom took the phone. She zoomed in, stared again and again, her expression growing more and more grim. Joe Bayou nervously reached for my hand, but I shoved it away. "Congratulations, you're going to be a dad. Let's call off the engagement." The sheer despair in his eyes was shocking. 16. The dinner ended on a sour note. My mother, her face dark with anger, grabbed my arm and pulled me away, cursing as we went. "You shameless thing, how dare you lie and say it wasn't you? I never would have guessed." I almost fell for his lies. Joe Bayou tried to catch up with us several times, But my mother shoved him away each time. He chased us all the way to the entrance of our neighborhood, and in the end, he grabbed hold of me and refused to let go. Passers-by couldn't help but stare. I didn't want to be gawked at in public, so I had to ask my mom to go home first. Joe Bayou and I walked to a secluded corner nearby. He stood before me, his shoulders slumped in dejection, with a sharp crack. He cleanly slapped himself across the face. It's my fault. I acted on impulse and did something to hurt you. We were in a long-distance relationship back then, and I admit I couldn't handle the loneliness, and she always had those kinds of feelings for me. She often brought me meals. When I was sick, she even took time off to look after me. She stayed single all these years because of me. My heart isn't made of stone. I was moved. That day when she kissed me, I meant to push her away. But she was crying and telling me she wanted nothing from me, only that I would allow her to like me. I don't know why I softened up back then. Cece, I truly hate my moment of weakness now. If I had known that moment of weakness would make me lose you, I would never have paid her any mind. I listened with complete indifference, yet his words churned my stomach. 17, he wasn't moved when he got confessed to as a freshman, but all these years later, he suddenly gets touched by it. Most people grow harder-hearted with age. He seems to be growing in reverse. A mocking smile tugged at my lips. Joe Bayou, don't give me that chivalry crap. Back when Yi Shuan came to confess her feelings, you turned her down, because we were just starting out then, in the honeymoon phase. I was still new and exciting to you, but after being together for so long, the passion faded and things got stale. That's why you couldn't say no to Yi Shuan this time, a Yi Shuan who threw herself at you, fresh, and asking for nothing in return. It was the thrill of something new that made you cheat. If it wasn't Yi Shuan, it would have been someone else. The 7-year itch had arrived, and he was more than ready for it. Otherwise, he wouldn't have hidden from me from the start that he and Yi Shuan were colleagues, and he dared to do this. Nothing more than betting. I still can't let go of these 9 years. Once the novelty wore off, he cut everything clean. Even if I actually caught him, he was sure I'd forgive him. He wants it all, playing me like a fool. In the palm of his hand, he thinks a few sweet words will be enough to brush this all under the rug. He kept shaking his head, his voice hoarse. Cece, no, it's not like that. I was just momentarily confused. I never loved her. His eyes red. He stepped closer, reaching out to embrace me. I pushed against his chest in disgust. Joe Bayou, stop dragging this out with me. The moment you cheated, there was no going back for us. Explaining this to me is pointless now. You've been back for over 3 months, your child is already fully formed. At the mention of the word child, a flash of understanding crossed his eyes. He grabbed my wrist forcefully and pulled me into the car. Are you insane? I've already made myself perfectly clear. I frantically tried to open the car door, but he had already locked it. The next second, he declared with certainty, Cece, there's no way she's actually pregnant. I'll call her and get to the bottom of this. Just wait for me to sort it out. 18, I watched helplessly as he unblocked Yi Shuan from his blacklist. Then, right in front of me, he dialed her number. The call was answered almost immediately. To prove his sincerity to me, Joe Bayou put the phone on speaker. I discreetly pressed a button on my own phone. It was the shortcut key I had set up earlier to start recording. Yi Shuan spoke with surprise. You finally decided to look for me. Joe Bayou cut straight to the point and asked her, was that post on the social media platform you? Who posted? It was me. Did you see it? Are you crazy? What exactly are you trying to do? I didn't mean to do anything. I just wanted to commemorate it. Joe Bayou grew increasingly impatient. Then what about the pregnancy? How could you possibly be pregnant? We always use protection. He quickly stopped himself, then glanced at me cautiously. I leaned against the seat, my face cold and expressionless. The car's interior was cramped and quiet. Their conversation seeped into my ears, word for word. Perhaps the most painful wave had already passed. Right now, I listened to it all numbly. My heart no longer churned with turmoil. A soft, delicate voice from the other side reminded him just in time. Don't you remember, that night we got married, you were the one who pulled out halfway? Joe Bayou urgently cut her off. His voice was cold and unwavering, leaving no room for argument. We already agreed on this. You shouldn't be pestering me. I don't want this child. Get rid of it. The woman's sobbing faintly came through the phone. This child may have been an accident, but now that it's here, I still want to keep it. I promise I won't interfere with your marriage again. If you're willing, you can have one home over there and another here. Joe Bayou finally lost his composure and snapped, Yi Shuan, you're completely insane. That sickening feeling began to churn in my stomach again. 19. That night, I made a post on Zaya Hongshu. I uploaded the recording and publicly tagged Yi Shuan's account. I'm the poor, clueless official girlfriend, ex-girlfriend now. Of course, ending a 9-year relationship felt as disgusting as swallowing a fly. It's quite the story. Congrats, you two don't have to wait out that 1-year promise anymore. A bitch and a dog deserve each other forever. Not long after posting, it quickly drew a massive wave of onlookers. That shameless pair, you go, girl, for exposing them. Thank God we broke up. Imagine having to go through a divorce after getting married. How revolting. A mistress so desperate to be a concubine. Now I've seen everything. Poor girl, running into such scumbags. Sending you a hug, sis. Netizens quickly uncovered their real identities from the photographer's pictures. The overwhelming torrent of abuse swept through like a hurricane. It blew from the virtual world of the internet straight into their real lives. Half a month later, Yi Shuan showed up at my clinic. Her overall condition was terrible. Dark circles shadowed her eyes, and her eyelids were badly swollen. It seems Zhou Baiyu was firmly opposed. He never wanted this child in the first place, so Yi Shuan turned her attention to me. She bit her lip and said to me, "That post you put online has already cost me my job." Once the public outcry spread, countless netizens complained to the hospital. Yi Shuan comes from an ordinary background and has no powerful connections. In the end, she lost her job entirely, but Zhou Baiyu has people backing him. His career might be affected only in the short term. As she spoke, she began to choke up. I never intended to get involved between you two, but now I have no way out. He refuses to marry me, refuses to take this child. He's not answering my calls, won't even meet me. I've run out of options, so I'm coming to you. I stared at him coldly. A memory from the past surfaced in my mind. After college, I ran into her by chance at our high school's alumni reunion. At the time, Zhou Baiyu ran to the small convenience store on campus to buy me a cold drink. I was standing in the hallway of the teaching building, waiting for him. Yi Shuan walked over and stood beside me. Downstairs, Zhou Baiyu came out of the supermarket and jogged over. He suddenly looked up, and our eyes met across the distance. The next second, he suddenly smiled and waved at me. I waved back at him. Yi Shuan, who had been silent beside me, suddenly spoke up. "I really envy you. If he liked me even a little, I'd do anything." She and I had never crossed paths. We never even spoke a word to each other in high school. At the time, I found out from Zhou Baiyu that she had been rejected after confessing her feelings. Not wanting to make him uncomfortable, I pretended I knew nothing, but her sudden words caught me off guard. I honestly told her at the time, "You don't need to envy me. Everyone has their own destined connection. You'll surely meet someone who feels the same way about you." She gave a bitter smile and said nothing more. After all these years, I remember what she said back then. I finally realized it too late. She really meant what she said. She's selfish and obsessive. Her love is a kind of crazy that borders on pathological. She showed up at my workplace, heavily pregnant. I had to force myself to stay calm. I said flatly, "This is a hospital, not a charity. It's not my job to find a father for your unborn child." She asked again, "Will you get back together with him?" I couldn't help but laugh. The man you treat like a treasure is nothing but burning garbage to me. Just then, I received a message, "I'll be waiting for you outside the hospital when you finish work." I frowned, looking at Yi Shuan before me, when suddenly an idea struck me. Finally, I wrote down Zhou Baiyu's mother's phone number on a piece of paper and handed it to her. "I'm really tired of dealing with them right now. No one wishes for them to get married sooner than I do." 21. I stepped out of the hospital gate. Sure enough, Zhou Baiyu appeared again, persistent as ever. His hair was slightly messy, with a hint of stubble on his chin, giving him a disheveled look. The incident online had undoubtedly affected him to some extent. Lately, our story has spread everywhere. Anyone who's ever crossed paths with us has been talking about it over tea and dinner. A couple of days ago, I heard about it from a mutual friend. He just returned from further studies, and with the Zhou family's influence, he was on track for a promotion. Now, someone else has snatched the position from him. I walked briskly toward the parking lot, and he hurried to follow. As soon as I opened the car door, he quickly slid into the passenger seat. I glared at him angrily. "Zhou Baiyu, get out." He stared at me intently. "Cici, I know you hate me, but I'm begging you to hear me out before you make your decision. Can you guarantee that your future husband won't make the same mistakes I did? At least we've had 9 years of deep feelings. I'll always choose you, no matter what, even if she's carrying my child. I can walk away from it. Isn't that enough to show how much I love you?" Can you guarantee your future husband will be as devoted as I am? You're breaking up with me now to marry someone with no emotional connection. Will that really turn out the way you hope? CC, all men are the same. At least I truly love you, CC. As long as you still want me, I'll never marry anyone else in this lifetime. I listened to his manipulative words without a flicker of emotion. Done talking, then get the hell off. He stared at me for 2 seconds, then burst into laughter. His laughter was laced with mockery and bitterness. CC, if it were you in my position, I don't believe you could stay indifferent. I understood what he meant. He was saying that if I were to meet someone like Yi Shiwan, passionate, intense, and asking for nothing, I wouldn't be able to stay unaffected. He didn't believe I could remain indifferent. I finally reached my breaking point and pulled out my phone to call the police. 22. What I never told Zhou Baiyu is that, during these 9 years we've been together, I haven't been without encountering people better than him. We live in a world where fresh temptations arise every single second. There was once a wealthy classmate who had been infatuated with me from college all the way through graduate school. I kept turning people away with the simple excuse, I have a boyfriend. I guarded my boundaries like a soldier, never stepping out of line even by a hair's breadth, but he never gave up. This classmate attended the same school and was in the same class as me for 8 years. I never gave him even the slightest chance. I ignored all his messages except those related to academics. He sent me various expensive gifts, either through intermediaries or via courier. I returned them all untouched. In college, once I had a sudden case of acute gastroenteritis, vomiting and diarrhea. I was walking weakly toward the infirmary when I unexpectedly ran into that male classmate. He immediately crouched down, looking anxious, and offered to carry me to the infirmary. I waved him off, gritted my teeth, and insisted on walking there myself. I could have held on to my love for 8 long years. Zhou Baiyu, however, surrendered in just 1 year. His willpower was as flimsy as a crudely made hollow wall, too fragile to bear the weight of emotion. It topples with the slightest push. In the end, he still wants to throw a bucket of dirty water on me, dragging me into the muck with him. Simply ridiculous. 23. Later, Zhou Baiyu finally stopped bothering me. He no longer showed up in front of me, hounding me relentlessly, because he ran into Yi Shiwan's family, who were even more persistent in their pursuit. Her family had struggled to raise a talented college student, but Zhou Baiyu ruined her, cost her her job and got her pregnant. How could the Yi family possibly let this go? After getting Zhou Baiyu's mother's phone number from me, the Yi family went and made a scene at the Zhou household. They were dead set on getting an explanation from the Zhous, threatening to take the matter to Zhou Baiyu's workplace otherwise. Zhou Baiyu's mother was afraid the situation would spiral out of control if it escalated further. In the end, she had no choice but to pressure her son into marrying Yi Shiwan. That child, which Zhou Baiyu never wanted, ultimately had to be acknowledged. But then, inexplicably, the pregnancy stopped in the late term. The baby was induced and delivered. I heard about all this while on vacation in Malaysia with my best friend. During the trip, I suddenly received a message from an unknown number. I'm getting married today, but why weren't you the bride? I blocked his number. 24. I saw Zhou Baiyu again 5 years later in the hospital's obstetrics and gynecology department. I was walking arm in arm with my husband. Out of the corner of my eye, I felt a scorching gaze following me. I lifted my gaze, and our eyes met in the air. He stared at me for a long moment, then slowly shifted his gaze to my swollen belly. A whirlwind of complex emotions flickered in his eyes. I pretended not to notice and kept walking. As I passed by him, I heard a familiar, soft whisper, "Make sure you eat well, you're too thin." Instinctively, I remembered the day I got married, when I posted a set of wedding photos on my social media. By then, I had already blocked Zhou Baiyu, yet his close friend left a thought-provoking comment underneath, "I hope you're happier than I am." From the consultation room behind him came the sound of Yi Shiwan sobbing. She asked the doctor with despair and anguish, Why can't I get pregnant?" Without breaking my stride, I continued walking toward the consultation room at the end of the hall. A faint, impatient urging from Zhou Baiyu echoed behind me, "Stop crying, there are so many people waiting outside, don't take up the doctor's time, let's go home right away." As we reached the last examination room, my stomach suddenly twitched. I excitedly shared with my husband, "Honey, the baby just kicked." My husband quickly leaned down to touch my belly. Another twitch, even stronger this time. He was overjoyed, his smile growing wider. "Looks like our baby is in a great mood today." I looked up, nodding and smiling in agreement. "Yes, The little one is so happy because at the moment mom faced a major life decision, she bravely and resolutely abandoned all sunk costs. Waking from the dream, she left the past behind. No past joy was worth sacrificing the rest of her life for. We settled the bill and walked away, but never lost our original intent. The end.